Michael, I'm a little disappointed in one of your comments during your raves about being a minimum wage employee and being an idiot. I'm certainly not an idiot. I was an executive for years, pulling down close to $100,000. Had the Republican come in, decided he wants to run a county government like a business, decided everybody that made over $75,000, they were going to lay them off, put the money into a surplus, which is just sitting and bearing interest. They're not concerned about the loss of services to the public. They're not concerned about the people that they're bringing in at lower wages that can't do the job, that have a learning curve, that won't be able to handle the position. And now I'm barely surviving, supporting my family on $3.75 a week if I'm lucky. And that extra $2 or $3 an hour that they get by raising the minimum wage is definitely a benefit to myself and my family. You know, the CEOs that run these companies, the capital investors, they've lived off the fatted cow for so long, it's time they tighten their belt up, put their money where their mouth is. They say their employees are their assets, their employees, their people that they serve, their customers is what makes them. Let them kind of share the wealth a little and help the people that actually make them.
Okay. And they should do this out of a sense of charity.
No, they should do that out of a sense of responsibility. If they're going to provide a service, they need to be willing to provide that service. If they're going to take on employees and say they're going to take care of the employees, they need to be able to step up and take care of the employees when times are rough.
What if they don't say they're going to take care of employees? What if they just say, here's your job, here's a mop bucket, do it?
Well, I don't know a lot of companies that do that. I'm sure they are out there, but they're few and far between.
Let's go back to the executive job you were doing, making $100,000 a year. Tell me what that was.
I worked for the county government. I was in the operations, so I was basically over in charge of all the operations for the city government, for county government.
Which county?
For Galveston County.
Okay, Greg, just so you know, that's government. That's not the private sector. So that's not really a corporate issue. That's a government issue.
Well, I understand that, but at this point in time, it's affecting me because I've been tried for over a year now to secure a job. There's 92 million people out there looking for a job. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has qualifications that's applying for the job. In the old days, you used to be able to go in, sit down, fill out an application, talk to somebody face-to-face, sell them on your qualifications, and get a job. Now, everything is due to the Internet. You send it in, you sit there. They're looking through 5, 6, 7, 800 applications now since there's so many people out. And it's one of these where you throw it up in the air and whatever sticks or falls on the floor face up, that's who you're going to bring in an interview.
So that's how companies now decide who they're going to hire? So what you're saying is these private companies that are not hiring you, they're not bringing you in, interviewing you, and hiring you and paying you what you think you're worth, that's what's wrong with America. But they're hiring somebody, right?
Yeah, they're hiring somebody. They're going through it and they're picking somebody, but how do you pick? How do you pick? Do you have time to look at 800 applications or 200 applications? When you're applying for somebody, you have someone do it. How do you go through the process?
What I try to do is
looking at them?
What I try to do is hire the least effective person I can. So what I do is I have them go through and I look for spelling errors and I pull those out and we interview those first. And then when they come in, if they can't speak English, then we narrow that down. And then if they promise they'll never show up to work or be qualified, then I hire that person. Greg, what makes you think that these companies are at fault because nobody wants to hire you? I mean, nobody wants to believe that they're the reason, but maybe you just don't look good on paper.
Well, no, I don't think it's their fault because they're not hiring me. I think it's the fault that there's so many people out of work now that you've got just so many people to choose from. You just don't have time to go through and select like you used to be able to before.
Right. Greg, you've hit on a good point. Now, what I think would be a good idea, if a lot of people are out of work right now, what I think would be a good idea is for government to go in, because a lot of people are out of work because of government requirements, but you come from the government, you may not believe that. I think what would be good is for the government to go in, and the government could impose all sorts of new costs and regulations on companies. And as they watch their margins diminish, they can lay off more people to accommodate the new regulations, you see? So we'll have new environmental regulations. And with those new environmental regulations, companies won't be able to pay for it, so they'll just lay off more people. And we'll require that companies have all these new OSHA requirements and all these other compliance requirements, which will reduce their profitability. Now, what they'll do is they'll lay off more workers and more workers, and as they lay off more workers, then the local companies that used to sell memberships to the club or restaurants, they'll lay off workers because they'll have fewer people coming in. And what we'll do as a result of all that, Greg, in your brilliant scheme, is we'll pay the people at the bottom. We'll make companies pay them a couple of dollars more, because surely you're going to be in that job for the rest of your life. And how many other people are going to be laid off because of that? It's brilliant.